It's honestly kind of nice though, because people are always like, my parents are always trying to talk to me, and I feel like kind of rude if I have both in. So it's kind of nice.
Transparency mode, bro.
No, that gives me a headache because like, like if there's no music
Okay.
playing, it's just gives, I don't know, it just kind of irritates me. Like when
Speaking
there's
of AirPods,
I feel
I'm
you.
going to be ranking the shooting in the NBA today. So we did this at first, right before the playoffs last year. So although it was less than a calendar year ago, it was about one NBA season ago. So I thought we would return.
I think this is the first pod I was ever on.
I think that's correct.
Was it?
Yeah.
This is
So
the
I don't know if you
NBA.
guys kept. I don't know if you guys kept the list at all. I know I still have mine, but I didn't look at it because I didn't want it to inform my decision-making process this time. But I thought we'd reevaluate the position. The way I did it was I broke it down into tiers. So I have 9 tiers because really once you get past like the top 15 guys, it's all kind of eye of the beholder, and like different circumstances will call for different players. And so like there's no sense in like making a distinction between say like the 72nd and the 73rd best shooting guard in the NBA. So really I thought tiers served a better purpose, but I did rank the top 15 guys, and I did do a soft ranking after that, which we can get into. But yeah, we can all kind of go through our criteria. I was telling Kellan, the way I like to think about it is if there were a season starting tomorrow with a full 82 games and playoffs, which guy would I want on my team? And when I say team, I'm not like thinking of any particular players, because one of the biggest things I think about, especially for shooting guard, is which player do I think can fit in the like widest variety of circumstances and widest variety of play styles. And so that's kind of where I chose to go with this. Do either of you two have any distinctions you want to make before we get started?
No. Cleared it up.
No, I think that's a good way to sum it up.
And just going back to the tiers, which I briefly touched upon, the purpose of tiers is kind of like if I rank 2 guys in like tier 3, for example, I wouldn't really have any argument against somebody ranking one person in tier 3 above another person from tier 3. But say if somebody wanted to put a guy from tier 4 above a tier 3 guy, like that's kind of where I might start to disagree. So that's kind of the purpose of tiers, is just to kind of create that demarcation between the groups of players. So I guess without further ado, I'll get into my first tier, and my first tier is just one player, and it's the same guy who's been at the top of this position for the better part of the last decade, and that's James Harden.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. The beard.
Yeah.
But kind of
man.
hard, though. Oh, I'm just kidding.
He's a big guy, bro.
He's a
James Harden. There's really no debate about this, because when you think about like all the aspects of offense, like he's pretty much better than everybody on this list at everything. Like he's probably the best scorer on this list. He's certainly the best passer on this list. He rebounds about as well as anybody on this list. He's just kind of dominated the shooting guard position for quite some time now, and that's like the reason he's in a tier all by himself.
Yeah.
Exactly. But looking at this, did you type all these out, or did you get them from a thing?
No, I typed them out.
Oh, interesting. Because I found a little section in your list that all you need is these 4 players.
Oh, yep, I did it by team. Sorry. So are you guys ready to move off of Harden?
Oh yeah, I hate James Harden.
Okay, so
no, dude, I love James Harden, bro. I used to not like him, but I love him since he's been to Brooklyn, bro. I have so much respect for him, bro.
He's MVP, yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Who's MVP?
Not with his newfound injury. Right now, honestly, I'd probably give it to the Joker.
Yeah, but Harden, it's just been so cool to see, like, not only from Houston to Brooklyn as he completely reimagined his game, but he plays completely differently every single game, like just depending on who else is playing for the Nets that night, which has just been so cool to see. He's like honestly one of the most adaptable players in the NBA. He's like a chameleon, basically.
He's such a chameleon, bro.
But number 2, I think you guys might be surprised by this, or actually Channon might not be surprised. But my second tier is just one person as well, and that's Devin Booker in a tier by himself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
D Book.
Okay. Damn. Okay.
What do you have?
So,
Burkon Korkmaz. Just kidding.
So
Probably lower tier.
you don't. Yeah. You don't feel like Bradley Beal could sneak into that tier?
Yeah.
I didn't have Bradley Beal in that tier. I just think so I'll go ahead and list all 4 players in my third tier: Bradley Beal, CJ McCollum, Zach LaVine, and Donovan Mitchell. And like Devin Booker, all those guys are predominantly scorers, but I just think Booker has so much more size and physicality than those players that it just allows him to score. And I think his scoring is just so much more undeniable because he's such a matchup problem, because you can't really guard him with guards because he'll overpower them. And he's so much quicker than big men that I just think he's just a lot harder to stop than those guys, because I really think you could scheme around Beal. And Beal, like, he's taking tough shots, but he really hasn't been all that efficient this year. He's like at league average efficiency. He takes more shots than anybody else. But
he is on a bad team too, and I'm not a big fan of like rewarding players on bad teams. But
yeah, so I just think Booker, they're all scoring guards and they're all elite at scoring. But I just think Booker, because of his size, because of his strength and his physicality, he's just a little bit harder to stop, especially in a playoff setting, than the rest of the guys in this group are. So that's why I put him in a tier of his own.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I can rock with that.
At the end, are we gonna pick like a few guys that we would pick on our team if we were to start a team?
Yeah, we can do that.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, so
I need to make
I think that's fair. I think I like that. And then the next tier is definitely, I would group those guys together as well.
Would you have any outside of those 4?
No, I don't think so.
Wait, name them one more time.
Bradley Beal, CJ McCollum, Zach LaVine, and Donovan Mitchell.
No, that's it.
And that's the order that I had them in as well. I think Beal, he just has such a difficult job on the Wizards, and he takes maybe him and Damian Lillard probably have the toughest like diet of shots in the NBA. They both take like such an impossibly hard collection of contested pull-up jumpers that even Beal maintaining league average efficiency on those sorts of shots is incredibly impressive. And CJ McCollum, he is having probably the best shooting season of any player in this tier. The reason I make the distinction between the best shooting season and the most efficient season is because CJ never gets to the line. And that's mostly because he's replaced a lot of the 2-pointers this season with 3-pointers, which he's just knocking down at an insane rate, 40% from 3. So probably a good trade-off there from CJ, trading in a couple free throws a game for better 3-point shooting. Zach LaVine, he's having a tremendous shooting season as well. Actually, 50, 40, almost 90 club for Zach LaVine this year, which obviously is very good. Donovan Mitchell, he is kind of having, of all these guys, maybe the most lackluster season. He's shooting it worse from 3. And surprisingly, I think people tend to overrate Donovan Mitchell's 2-point scoring just because of the aesthetic and how athletic he is. People just figure that he should be able to score around the basket. But really, of the 4 guys in this tier, he is far and away the worst at scoring at the cup. And so he just kind of lags behind in pretty much any shooting stat that exists. And that's why he's 6th, because these guys are all scorers. So the fact that he's the least efficient of all the scorers.
He tears up the Blazers, though.
What's that?
I said he tears up the Blazers, though.
Yeah, he did. He did have a good game against us both times. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I will say I was going to say maybe he's the best passer. I think him and CJ are probably competing for the best passer of these 4 players. I think LaVine's clearly the worst.
Yeah, I think CJ's probably a better passer than Donnie.
Yeah. Yeah, but I
don't think Donovan Mitchell could run a court of 5 like CJ can.
Yeah, I think that's unlikely. And the thing about CJ too, like for all the reasons I just named in terms of just shooting percentages and just stats and all that stuff, even if all those were equal, even if Mitchell was having as efficient a season as CJ was, Like, we've seen CJ on the postseason stage just rip the heart out of the Denver Nuggets on their home court. And so that has to count for something as well. CJ elevates his game in the most important moments. And that's why I put him at number 4. So to restate, my top 6 so far has been James Harden, Devin Booker, each in a tier of their own. And then Bradley Beal, CJ McCollum, Zach LaVine, and Donovan Mitchell are 3, 4, 5, and 6.
I agree with that completely.
Would Clay share tier 2 with D-Book?
Well, actually, that's a good segue into tier 4. Tier 4 spans my guys ranked 7 through 11.
Slaughtered.
And it's Klay Thompson, Marcus Smart, Evan Fournier, Duncan Robinson, and Terry Rozier.
Okay.
Wait, say him again.
Okay, so Marcus Smart and Klay Thompson are the same tier, guy.
Oh, he said Klay Thompson first.
Yeah, Klay.
It's the same tier. It doesn't
Klay
matter. They're
Thompson,
ranked
7,
equally.
Marcus Smart 8, Evan Fournier 9, Duncan Robinson 10, and Terry Rozier 11. I'll say if Klay Thompson was healthy and playing the way he was in like 2018-19, for example, he'd probably be ahead of Devin Booker. He'd be second on my list. But not only is he coming off of 2 major injuries that caused him to miss 2 consecutive seasons, but he also would have had natural age-related regression anyway because he's in his 30s now. So he's just extremely hard. So he's just a bit of a hard player to predict right now. Honestly, this might be his last season making this list just because I think when he comes back, we'll probably be seeing him play more small forward because he'll probably lose a little bit of quickness. And he certainly has the size to compete with forward. So I just might think that would be a better fit for him going forward. But I have him at the top of tier 4 for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're like ranking guys. They're just because they're in the same tier doesn't mean like they're the same player.
No, he's still giving ranks. He was just saying like he understands the argument for like different positionings and ranks. Like he wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. But that's a good tier. I think I would probably put Fournier over Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
I think that's fair because, Fournier, he's kind of quietly having a great shooting season too. He's 40% from 3. He can also kind of get to a shot off the dribble and pass. So he's just a very well-rounded offensive threat. And he's got good positional size so he can compete on defense. The reason I put Marcus Smart ahead is just because I think he's one of the best like guard defenders in the league. Like in the
He is, yeah.
So I just think having that one super elite skill, I just think that makes him pretty valuable because the way I kind of classified this tier was like guys who could be a huge addition to any starting 5 in the league, but are also could be like incredible role players on like championship teams. And like the prime example of that obviously is Duncan Robinson, who we saw his last year be an insane contributor to a championship team. And so, I have no problem with Fournier above. It's just kind of eye of the beholder. Like I think some teams would probably value Marcus Smart's insane defense depending on who they had.
We would. The Blazers would.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the Celtics are the perfect example of a team that desperately just needed a bit more competition.
Oh yeah, they're on the same team now. I didn't even.
Yeah, they just needed a little bit more shooting, a little bit more passing, and Fournier was the perfect guy for them. And so, just as a little tangent, the fact that they got the number 9 shooting guard on this list for just 2 second-round picks, that was such a great trade by Boston to go out and get Fournier.
Definitely.
So my 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 is Klay Thompson, Marcus Smart, Evan Fournier, Duncan Robinson, and Terry Rozier.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Dude, Duncan Robinson is blessed with his size, bro. I was thinking about that because, like, he's such a shooter, bro. And he's really, like, his size makes him, like, a valuable, like, defensive asset on guards. But if it weren't for that, bro, it would be tough. I mean, it already was tough for him to even, like, get to the league, but,
yeah. But if it weren't for his size, he'd basically just be like Matt Thomas, so.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Matt Thomas, but they're very different players.
No disrespect, but disrespect. Well, so I'm actually really sad right now.
Wait, so is Evan Fournier injured right now?
What?
I don't believe so. I can check. Did he?
He's not on the box score for today. So I guess he must be. Or can I not see his name? Am I tripping? Yeah, I don't see him on the box score from today's game. I saw they took down the smoking hot Nuggets.
He's in health and safety protocols.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah, I have no worries about him bouncing back from health and safety protocols. I think he should be okay to stay in this tier. Kellan, do you want to just tell everybody where you would put Klay Thompson? Would you put him up with like Beal, McCollum, Levine, and Mitchell, or would you even higher maybe?
I didn't realize, like, really quick, I didn't realize that like James Wiseman tore his meniscus. I thought it was just a meniscus injury. That's what I got on my phone. I just looked up James Wiseman right now to check on his injury. I didn't realize he's going to be out for the rest of the season though.
Yeah, so the Warriors might actually like creep up and maybe like go into the play-in tournament with that 8 seed.
I'm just like super upset right now because I didn't realize it was that serious. But anyways, that's why I said I was super sad, because I didn't understand that. But I would like I said, I would probably have Klay up towards like with Devin Booker at tier 2.
Yeah.
But
if he comes back healthy, he will. But
is Kevon supposed to just do everything? Kevon and Draymond now. Awesome.
Well, I mean, just from an on-court standpoint this year, I think Channon's right that it'll probably be a lot better for the Warriors. I think it's more moving forward. Like, you'd love for Wiseman to kind of get a little bit more experience. So I think that's where it really sucks. And then the thing about Klay Thompson as well is like it's going to be a tough road for him to kind of get back to, like, I feel like the margin of error for him in terms of like an all NBA guard is just so narrow, because he needs to be that great pull-up shooter and that great defender. Because I think the shooting's a given. Like Klay Thompson, I feel like no matter what, he has an incredible shot and he'll always be an efficient three-point shooter. But it's going to be a matter of like, how good is his defense? How well can he get to like those mid-range shots when he gets back? That's going to be kind of the key.
It's so crazy because we were talking about this like a year ago about him coming back from this. Like,
I know.
And then he gets another one. So now it's like, damn, it's harder.
Is he playing a pickup game?
Yeah. So should we get to tier 5 now?
Of course. Who's in tier 5?
So tier 5 is another 4-player tier. It actually was a 3-player tier, but then I had to go in and add somebody yesterday.
Wait, do you think Duncan Robinson's better than Tyler Hero?
No question about it. Yeah. So tier 5 is Norman Powell, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Tim Hardaway Jr., and then the latest mover on my list, I had to actually go back and adjust it, but Gary Trent Jr. snuck into tier 5.
Yeah.
I mean, heck yeah, dude. Ever since he left the Blazers, he's become a new guy.
Okay. So you said Norman Powell, Bogdan Bogdanovic. Who else? Besides Gary?
Tim Hardaway and Gary Trent Jr.
Yeah, that's a good list, bro.
Tim Hardaway. He's okay.
Let's see my thoughts on this. Yeah, bro. I mean, I feel like those are all pretty even players, actually.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. Similar skill sets for all of them as well. I think Norman Powell, he might be like the most prime for regression out of these guys, just because I don't know if he'll shoot 43% from 3 for much longer. Like that's kind of an outlier when you look at the rest of his career. And his game is so reliant on athleticism. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah, but honestly, as far as those guys go, bro, like, close your eyes and pick one. You're pretty much getting a lot of the same stuff from them.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And then it's just so incredible. To this point, Gary Trent Jr. is the youngest player on this list at 22. So you imagine his star is just going to keep ascending. He is definitely a guy to look at to kind of rise on this list, especially because
he is, bro.
Stuff.
He looked aggressive, and his highlights from his Was that yesterday? I don't know,
Yeah.
but he looked aggressive in the paint. That was something I was hating on him for, bro, was his confidence in the paint. He looked good.
Yeah.
He did
Yeah.
look good.
I will say too, he's always had like really good touch around the basket just because he's just an incredibly skilled player.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's really just a matter of like being able to finish through contact and kind of being able to absorb contact.
Yeah, it's really about body control and balance.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, as he kind of gets more aggressive, I think gets more physical too. Just um he's not I think he's not like the most athletic guy. And so just
No.
being able to learn the little tricks of like getting into like his defender's body and just
Yep, definitely, because he kind of like tries to avoid the body like just by flipping the shot up.
yeah.
At least that's what I saw from him a lot. But like you're saying, I think as he learns to use what he has more.
If I were him, I would be watching a ton of Joe Ingles film because I think Joe Ingles is
Nice.
one of the best guys in the league at not being super athletic, but being an incredible finisher around the basket just by using like his balance and physicality to like create angles and stuff. So,
Yeah.
and I think Gary, he has insane touch. So if he's
Honestly,
able,
another guy who's really good at that is CJ McCollum.
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah, and yeah, hopefully Gary picked up some stuff from CJ while he was in Portland. So yeah, I expect Gary will go nowhere but up this list. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that does it for my tier 5. Are there any guys that you guys would have included to this point?
What
I
about
don't think
Karras?
so. Karras?
Yeah, Karras is going to be in my next tier.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd put him a tier under those guys. I could see the argument, but all right, next tier.
All right, my next tier 6, actually spans 16 through 30. So now we're kind of getting into the
Nitty
part of
gritty.
the list where it really is just eye of the beholder, and these guys all kind of bring different things, and they're not all necessarily starters, but they all have like certain skills. So this is in a soft order, like just in order of my personal preference, but I wouldn't have like any sort of problem with any ordering of these 15 players. So it's Lou Dort making a huge jump up this list, Seth Curry, Jordan Clarkson, Lonzo Ball, who I didn't include as a shooting guard, Colin Sexton, Eric Gordon, Justin Holiday, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, DeAnthony Melton, Dante DiVincenzo, Malik Beasley, Karis LeVert, Luke Kennard, Tyler Hero, and RJ Barrett.
There you go. Those are good players right there. There's a ton.
I like that you said Lou Dort at the top, bro. He's good, dude. Like he's really good.
Yeah, and he's starting to get confidence from 3 too. He's shooting a lot more of them.
He shoots it well.
Yeah, it's still, his percentages aren't anything to write home about, like 33%. But if
his shot looks good, bro.
Yeah, if he keeps putting them up and keeps making at least like a third of them like he's doing right now, people are going to at least be forced to guard him out there. And that combined with some of the best defense in the league is just a combination for a really good player.
And I've seen him make some impressive plays like offensively at the rim too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause he's like the opposite of Gary. Like he'll just go straight through guys, and he's very strong, pretty athletic as well. So yeah, he's an exciting guy to keep an eye on.
He's very strong individual.
Is SGA is a point guard, huh?
Yeah, I think so. I know last year we included him on the shooting guard list because he would play with like Dennis Schroeder and Chris Paul and stuff. But I think this year I'd probably consider him a point guard.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think a player people might be surprised that I have this low is Jordan Clarkson. Like I think people might be surprised of like Gary Trent to tier above Jordan Clarkson. But I just think Clarkson, he's such a one-dimensional player. And so often it feels as if his offense and his shots are just sort of running cold. And on nights when he's
dude,
he's actually kind of a damaging player because he tries to shoot himself.
Oh, definitely.
What happened?
He doesn't have it. It's really like kind of damaging for the Jazz. And so that's why I just had him kind of lower. He's kind of a one-trick pony. And when that trick doesn't work, he doesn't really have anything to fall back on.
Yeah, that's facts, dude. I think that he's so good and where he's at right now with the Jazz, but I think that's a lot of it is situational. I think that if you tried to, like, for example, insert him into the starting lineup of just some other team, I don't think he is nearly as valuable as a player, basically for the reasons you said. Yeah, he kind of just is a go for the bucket guy, and that's pretty much all it is, which is big to have off the bench, obviously. But
yeah, and when he's playing well, it's like really good, and like he can score with the guys, and like I don't want to say tier 3, but he can score with like a Norman Powell or Bogdan Bogdanovic. Like when he's on, he's like as good, if not better, than those guys. But he's just a little bit less consistent, and he just has a little bit less to the rest of his game than those guys do. So
yeah, that's a good assessment.
Are there, and I think Colin Sexton, very similar as well. Like, and Colin Sexton, he's even a little bit more undersized. He even runs a little bit colder than Clarkson does. Like Sexton, he's still a pretty inefficient player. He's not an incredible passer. Most of the time, he doesn't really play that good of defense. So although he's like had some very good games this season, and he is certainly capable of like heating up. I know we all remember that game. They beat the Nets in overtime. But I just don't think Colin Sexton is good enough on a consistent basis to be higher than 20 on this list.
No, I agree.
Are there any other names in this tier that you guys wanted to discuss?
I don't think any stand out to me. What about you, Kellan?
Homie, no. No, I don't know. I don't care. Just that cluster, Michael Mulder, Damian Lee. Dude, where's Damian Lee fall on your list?
So let's get the tier 7. So that's another good segue. Tier 7 actually spanned from players 31 to 57. I'll just bring up, I don't want to read out all 26 or 27 players. I think that might be kind of boring, but I'll read through some of like the more interesting names. At 32, or like some of just the more well-known players, I guess. At 32, I had Damian Lee. 34, I had the rookie Desmond Bane, who I've been very impressed by this year. At 36 is a guy who I used to really like, but he's kind of let me down ever since the bubble last year, and that's Dylan Brooks. 38 and 39 are two guys who, when I was making this list, I kind of came to the conclusion that these guys are very underrated, but I had Pat Connaughton and Grayson Allen in this tier. At number 40, I had Lou Williams. At 41 is the slumping Victor Oladipo. 43, Buddy Hield. I had Josh Richardson at 45. JJ Redick falls to 52. Wesley Matthews at 56. And then rounding out the tier is Garrison Matthews at 57.
Bro, it's really weird, like, just thinking about, like, what you said, like, where Vic Oladipo is, and just, like, the way people are acting lately about, like, players like him, like, moving, like, so he goes to Miami, and people are, but, like, NBA pages are feeding into it and, like, posting all these highlights, like, oh, does this make Miami the favorite and stuff? And it's like, who do you think this player is, bro? Like, that happened with him, Andre Drummond, Blake Griffin, kind of, who Blake Griffin has been good, but he's not a superstar, and people are just thrashing these franchises, acting like, it's overpowered now, and who else do they need? These are really like, Victor Oladipo is not a game changer, bro.
No,
like, and Duncan Robinson is leaps and bounds more valuable than him.
And I actually think Victor Oladipo is going to hurt the Heat if they choose to play him too much, because he's just so thirsty to take the shots that he thinks will prove to the world that he's the guy he used to be.
Yo, dude, yes. Players in that situation are dangerous, honestly, because of that reason.
Yeah, and he's shooting 40% from the field on just a inflated 18 attempts per game, which that's problematic. He's not really defending nearly as well as he used to. He can't really pass the ball. He's just a very negative player in his current state, which is sad considering what he used to be. But I I honestly think that 41 is kind of generous. Like I would take a bunch of guys below him. Like I would take Furkan Korkmaz over him. I'd take Steve McKayak over him. I'd probably take Wesley Matthews or Garrett Temple.
Yeah.
Or Kevin
Herter.
Herter sucks.
You're not a Herter guy?
Not really. I mean, he's okay, but he bricks 3 balls.
I don't think his percentages aren't that bad, are they?
No, I literally base everybody based on how they played against the Warriors.
Yeah, because he's a 38% shooter on his career, and he's
that's nice.
Yeah, so he's not a brick.
No, he's a good player.
And he's 6'7", so he's got good positional size. I think he tries hard on defense.
He's got good passing. He finds guys.
Yeah, and I'd say that's an underrated part of his game too. I don't think he's starting quality, but I think he's a quality player.
100%. Yeah, I think so too. The Hawks are actually really not bad.
No,
I forgot Gallo was on their team.
Gallinari, yeah.
But yeah, where's Grayson?
He's actually been playing a little better too. He got off to a very poor start to the season.
Mm-hmm.
For a second, I thought you were talking about a Langston Galloway because he's not here. But yeah, Danilo Gallinari, he's playing well. Kellan, do you want to talk about Damian Lee for a second because he was in this tier?
Just a scrapper. Him and Kent Bazemore just come up so clutch with corner 3 balls and just like they hit your shot your shot that you love right at I don't even know, like right at the top of the 3-point arc. Money for Damian Lee, dude. And I don't know what it is. They're just ballers. Damian Lee and JTA, Kent Bazemore, they bring a different element to Warrior basketball. I love it. But their corner 3 balls are sick. And I
think you guys will like this next tier 8. This tier is kind of the last tier where I would classify these guys as like guys who I think I'm like 80% sure belong on an NBA roster. Like I think once you get below this tier, like the guys in tier 9, there are players who you could just pick up in free agency or off the waiver wire right now who are just as good as them. Tier 8, I think, brings players who are maybe slightly better than that. And so I'll read through some of like the more well-known names on this list who will be good for discussion. At 58, I add Anthony Edwards, the number 1 overall pick. 59 is Taylor Horton-Tucker. At 60, I went with Anthony Simons. 61 was Jordan Poole. Landry Shaman and Bruce Brown are in the section of the list. Michael Mulder, Jalen Noel, Kevin Porter Jr., a newcomer to this list who this guy was probably the hardest guy for me to rank, but I actually am a kind of a fan of his. John Conchar is here, as is Tyrese Maxey. And the list rounds out at this tier rounds out at 73rd rather with Damian Dotson.
Hey, don't be hating on Jordan Poole. Man's just dropped another 20-piece last night.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one because I actually think of Jordan Poole and Anthony Simons as like somewhat similar players just because they're both kind of shooting guards who create their value by hitting like pull-up shots off the dribble. Like obviously I know both of their games are kind of or at least trying to include other skills, but that's kind of like the bread and butter of their games. And I think for a guy who's trying to make his living as a shooter, like Jordan Poole, he's just not quite good enough at that yet. And Anthony Simons shoots like a much better percentage than Jordan Poole does. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the reason I add Simons ahead of him.
Yeah, Jordan Poole, 8 of 11, 3 for 5 last night from beyond the arc.
Here, I'll pull up Poole's stats.
You're going to bring up things from the past.
Well, no, just
really. So he had 21 points against the Rockets. He didn't score anything against the freaking Wizards. Against the Bucks, he had 10.
Yeah, and this season he's shooting 36% from beyond the arc. And granted, that is better than the 28% he shot last year. I mean, obviously that does count towards my evaluation of him, but I am acknowledging the fact that he is improving, especially ever since he came back from the G League bubble. But he's just not quite good enough yet. And
the thing for me is
Yeah.
I'm just happy he's playing good in games that are actually meaning something. Because a lot of the times he would get in, Warriors are up by 30 or 25, and he's just hitting 3 balls that mean nothing. But he's actually hitting shots that are contributing to us winning in sustaining a lead, which is good. And he's not afraid to do things. Plus, he's finishing really well, and he is passing. I don't know. But he has a lot of options too, especially with Steph on the court. But I mean, I don't know. I just think he's good, and he's only 21. You can't write him off yet.
Who would you put him with on this list? Like, would he be up there with Damian Lee for you?
At times, he's almost better than Damian Lee because Damian Lee, I mean, his scoring, it's tough to say. Damian Lee, because like I said, him and Kent Bazemore, they get rebounds and they're good on defense. But if I had to count on somebody to hit it, that's tough actually because D Lee's pretty clutch at threes, but he doesn't have a high volume. Like he won't shoot as much as Jordan Poole. Like if I was to count on somebody to bring us back in a game, I would rely obviously more on Jordan Poole than D Lee. But that doesn't necessarily make him a better player than Damian Lee.
Would you put Jordan Poole up with like Luke Kennard or Tyler Hero?
No. That's not fair to say, obviously, because Tyler Hero's had way more success than Jordan Poole has in the NBA. Obviously, I'm just saying from last year, you can't make a basket to actually hitting clutch 3 balls is.
Oh big. Yeah. Last year he wouldn't have been ranked above the likes of like Landry Shamet or Etwan Moore or Denzel Valentine or Damian Dotson. So he has made some strides. Channon, do you have any thoughts about players in this tier?
There was someone, the THT. Seen some hype about him, but I haven't really understood it. Like, I get that he's kind of looks solid at times, but you can say that about any player, any of the players in this area. Mm-hmm. And I feel like people are kind of talking about it like the Lakers like got some kind of gem with him.
Yeah, I don't think.
And I'm not really sure if that's what I see.
He has it's interesting. He shows like flashes of really kind of interesting instincts where he makes like a good pass or a really good cut. Like he seems to understand the game well, which I think is good. And he has a crazy wingspan. I forget what it was, but it's like 7 footer, 7'1", and he defends pretty well. Like I think he's maybe a little slower than you'd like from a shooting guard, which I think is kind of a bigger deal than people realize. And then also like at the end of the day, he's just got to shoot better than he has from 3. Like I think he's shooting 29% from 3. And if that continues, people just aren't going to guard him. And if that's the case, it's just kind of game over for him. So he just I think he does probably have some potential, but he just has way too many holes in his game. And what he does well, he's not really good enough at that yet to like justify him moving up out of this tier.
Yeah. And then Anthony Edwards.
Yeah,
that's my
Anthony
boy.
Edwards.
I like him.
He can rise up this list for sure because he's definitely shown flashes. But if we just look at his whole body of work, he's been extremely inefficient. Even in these past couple of months where he's started to kind of put it together, it still has not looked tremendously good. Just to bring up his shooting numbers for a bit, he's shooting 31% from 3. He takes a lot of long mid-rangers. He's 22 of 88 on long mid-rangers. From floater range, he's 33 of 107. At the rim, he's in the 28th percentile of shooting. He's only
dear goodness, bro, that's horrible.
Yeah, he's only shooting 57% at the rim, which is really disappointing for a guy of his size and athleticism. So he definitely has I think he's hopefully going to move up this list. I wouldn't be shocked at all. But this season, it has been a slow start for him, just like efficiency-wise.
Yeah, he definitely takes questionable shots.
Yeah, and the passing is coming along too, but the passing, the defense, like neither of those two things are above like average for shooting guards. And so combine that with his incredibly bad shot selection and poor shooting to this point, and he just hasn't been a very good player. So that's why he's down here with like Anthony Simons and Jordan Poole.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Dear goodness.
So let's move to tier 9. These are the guys who are really just like borderline NBA players.
Borderline, I probably deserve their roster spot.
This tier went from 74 to 89, and these are the last guys on my list. So just some names from this selection of names: Tyler Johnson, Kyle Guy, Rodney Magruder, Aaron Neesmith, the rookie, is in here. I still believe in him, as I do in Josh Green and Isaac Okoro, who are both on this section. Avery Bradley, even though he claims that nobody can do what he does on defense, he's been having a disappointing season. Ty Jerome's in here, Sam Merrill, Maya Ione, and the list rounds out at number 89 with Romeo Langford of the Boston Celtics.
I don't know anything.
Bums. Yeah, I remember Tyler Johnson had a good year with like Miami or something, didn't he?
Yeah, he actually got paid like a lot of money back in, I think it was 2016 or 17, one of those off seasons, and he has not lived up to it since. He's actually shooting the ball pretty well in Brooklyn. Actually, that's something I want to touch on too. I had a hard time rating the Brooklyn guys like Bruce Brown, Tyler Johnson. They're both having very good seasons, but how well would they be playing if they weren't surrounded by 3 of the best offensive players of all time? I think is a real question. And so, yeah,
that's true.
Because Bruce Brown in particular, like he's been very effective. Almost at times they've used him as like a forward or a center because he's physical. He defends well. He rebounds exceptionally well for a guard, but he's terrible at shooting and he can't really create his own shot. So if you weren't playing with elite offensive talent, I don't think he'd find very much success. And so that's the reason why he's further down this list than what his numbers from this year would sort of indicate.
Yeah. Makes sense. I would love to play on the Brooklyn Nets, bro.
Yeah, definitely. That would be a fun team to just be a role player on.
Yeah.
You guys want to move into some big picture thoughts?
Yes.
All right. Should we answer Kellan's question? If we had to pick like 2 or 3 of these guys to be on our team, who would we choose?
Yeah. So like, is this like on the team we support or just like on we're building a team?
Building a team, right?
Okay. We should do like someone at like the top and then like or like maybe like
develop.
Yeah, like some mid-pack guys.
I agree because I don't think we should do just James Harden, Devin Booker, Bradley. So he wants to go first.
Okay, my star. If I'm taking a star, I think I'm taking Devin Booker, honestly.
Nice.
Just because, dude, I love James Harden, bro, but he really just it feels like he doesn't want to play defense at all so much, bro. Like I just like see him just like, and he has such a good body for defense, bro. But
Devin Booker's defense this year is so improved, and that's one of the things I'm really excited. Like when you watched him in that Jazz game, like he's super engaged, and like this team the Suns defense that's been switching a lot has been so good for him. Like I don't think of his defense as a problem anymore, which I did.
Me either, and that's what we talked about. Maybe even on the last time we did this.
Yeah.
Was his defense, and we talked about how he has defensive potential because of his strength and like size.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember us talking about that. So I think this postseason is going to be just a huge like kind of fork in the road for Devin Booker's career. But I'm really expecting nothing but great things. I know we've beaten this dead horse a million times on this podcast, but Devin Booker's built for the playoffs. So it's going to be fascinating to see how he does. So I think that's a great pick.
Mid-pack, I like Lou Dort. I think having a defensive guard is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good pick.
I was going to say that, but I'll pick something else now.
You can take him, bro. I know you mess with him.
I do. I freaking love him. I'll pick 3 of that then. I'll go obviously Lou Dort, but I'd definitely go Gary Trent too. And then I would have to go with the man, the 31-year-old legend, second best shooter in the game, Klay with a K. There you go, Klay Thompson. That's nice. Klay Thompson, Gary Trent. or / Lou Dort. I don't know. I feel like they'd be kind of nice.
Yeah.
I like Jordan Clarkson too, though. I don't know. I can't make up a mind. There's too many good players.
So my 3 guys would be, I don't really believe in building a team around a elite shooting guard. If I did, Devin Booker would be my choice, as Channon has said. But I kind of just prefer taking a 3-and-D guy to be my starting shooting guard. So I'll go with Gary Trent Jr. I like having a guy who can just provide like microwave scoring off the bench and just kind of create his own shot and maybe preferably create shots for others. And that's why I'll go with Tyler Hero, just solely based on like the flashes of passing we've seen throughout his career. Like if that's real, I think he'd be a great guy to just bring off the bench and kind of run your offense for a little bit. Because I think he's sort of developing into that skill set, even though this season's been a bit disappointing in my opinion. And as the 3rd guy, I'll go with Pat Connaughton, just because getting that aggression, getting that kind of athleticism and intensity and energy off the bench, I think he's a really solid defender. So I just think that would be a nice little bolt of excitement coming off the bench. And now that he's shooting above league average this year, I think he's a 38% shooter. I think that's what he's shooting from deep this year. I just think that's a very solid piece off the bench. So my 3 guys are Gary Trent Jr., Tyler Hero, and Pat Connaughton.
I forgot to pick a bottom of the pack guy. I think I would actually go with Grayson Allen, who I have kind of always hated, but he's impressed me at times. Brings a similar energy to Pat, I think.
I think this is kind of cliche just because he's a white guy, but he's like a smart player too. Like he knows when to shoot or pass or drive to the basket on offense. Like he doesn't really make mistakes when he's playing, which is a very good thing for just kind of.
Did he play 4 years in college?
I think you're right. And I think another big thing was A, just playing for Mike Krzyzewski, who's arguably the best coach in basketball. And then B, being the point guard on Duke. He just got a lot of experience just like running off.
Dana Altman, bro. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Making good decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Grayson Allen is a great pick. Memphis, they've got a pretty good selection of shooting guards between DeAnthony Melton, Grayson Allen. Even though he's let me down recently, I still like Dylan Brooks quite a bit. I think John Conchar is kind of an up-and-comer. Desmond Bane has been elite as a rookie. So that's a pretty good stable. Like Memphis does such a good job drafting. Like they might be the best drafting team in the NBA right now.
Yeah.
All right, Channon, if you have a few more minutes, do you want to just do a couple quick hitting questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Who have been like the biggest risers for you guys up your list since the time we did this last year?
Who is it? Obviously Gary Trent has taken a step up.
Yeah, that's one of my answers too.
I don't think I would have put Devin Booker in a tier of his own before this season.
Damn.
Yeah, that's a good point. His jump has been kind of small, but it's a very meaningful jump.
Yeah.
So
I agree. He separated himself from the tier under him, and I don't think that was the case before.
Anthony's definitely better too.
I think I'd put Anthony at a pretty similar spot last year.
You think? Honestly? Because I don't remember him doing anything last year.
He's kind of doing the same.
Yeah, I don't really think he's doing much more this year. Like he's kind of like Jordan Poole. He's shooting the ball a little bit better, but that's like the bare minimum he needs to do to kind of scrape by as an NBA player. So
yeah. Do we talk about what's his name? Kevin Porter Jr.? Is that his name?
Yeah, I had him way down on my list at 60.
Yeah,
but
that's fair. But he's had some impressive games, bro.
Yeah, I just don't trust him yet. Sadly, he's had such kind of a star-crossed career in the NBA that I can't really buy into him until we've seen it for at least a couple months. You know?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because I agree. I was, especially in Cleveland last year, I was like fascinated by his potential because he has good size and he's got such a nice handle and can create his own shots off the dribble. And he was actually shooting well. And so I was very intrigued by what he could become. And then it's been like nothing but bad stuff for him since then. So hopefully he starts to turn it around. For me, some of my risers, you mentioned Gary Trent Jr. That's a big one. Lou Dort, I don't even think I would have had him on my list last year at this time.
Yeah.
He was
Yep.
still on a 2-way contract, I bet, last time we did this list. So
Damn.
Lou Dort is a massive one. Terry Rozier. I wasn't a big Terry Rozier fan last year.
Yeah,
And
that's a
then,
good one.
then the big one for me, and this isn't the case for you guys because I remember both of you guys liked this guy quite a bit last year, and I was the odd man out. But Zach LaVine.
Oh yeah.
And you might think this is the part of the podcast where I admit I was wrong about him last year, but no, I stand by my Zach LaVine takes from last year. I just think he's improved so much this year. Like I had no spoilers, but I think when we get to like our awards podcast and stuff, don't be surprised if I'm taking Zach LaVine as the most improved player because
He has definitely, yeah.
yeah. Here, just for the heck of it, I'm gonna pull up his stats really quick so we can look at how he's progressed this year. 3-point shooting is up from 38% to 42%. 2-point percentage is up from 49% to 57%. Field goal percentage up from 45 to 50%. Free throw percentage up from 80% to 50%. Effective field goal percentage from 52% to almost 60%. Like he's just become such an efficient player this year.
Yeah.
And then assists have gone up slightly as well, although turnovers have gone up a bit too. So kind of just
definitely taken a big step forwards.
Yeah,
like because I think your thing you were like hating on it for was efficiency and like consistency and stuff.
Yeah, and maybe I wasn't giving him quite as much credit as he deserved last year. I think that could be fair to say, but I think I've made up for my my negative viewpoint on him last year because I have him in the tier with Beal, McCollum, Mitchell. Like that's a pretty good company. I think of all those players, he's the least well-rounded, but as we previously discussed, he's shooting a little bit better than any of those guys are. So I just think it kind of balances out. They're all kind of scoring guards and he's scoring better than any of them. So yeah. Biggest fallers on the list. I had 4 in my mind. Oladipo is, I was kind of pessimistic about Oladipo, but I was kind of scared to rate him too low just because I knew like the potential he had. But this year has kind of reaffirmed all the pessimism thoughts I had about him. Lou Williams has continued to kind of fall off, and JJ Redick is a big one too. I used to be a JJ Redick fan, but he's really kind of done nothing this year.
Yeah, screw you, Jonah.
What?
Remember you were like, oh, I think JJ Redick helps the Warriors much more than Kelly Oubre, and you like went off on me, and your face got red and stuff, and you went off on me. I'm like, homie. Come on, man.
Still think that I
don't think that's a bad take.
Yeah,
I think it's. I don't think
at the time the Warriors were like top 10 in offense and then top 10 in defense and bottom 10 in offense, and so and at the time they also had Wanamaker and Bazemore, who easily slots into what Kelly Oubre was already giving them. So that's not to say that Kelly Oubre is a worse player than Redick. Like if I were doing that trade as the Warriors, I would certainly like ask for at least a 2nd round pick from the Pelicans to make it happen. But I think there's a case to be made that could be helpful.
I don't know.
But I think there's merit to what you're saying as well, Kellan. I think there is a possibility that JJ is just kind of washed up at this point, and certainly Oubre has been
heating up from beyond the arc.
Part of what the Warriors are doing this season, and so I definitely kind of can see where you're coming from.
I hope he resigns.
Honestly, I probably agree with you at this point. If I could just swap Oubre straight up for Redick, and I think the Warriors would be worse for doing that. So I think I'll take the L on that one. I think you're probably right. So if we have to predict who we think are going to be the biggest risers next year if we make this list again.
Anthony.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
The best middle linebacker in basketball.
I don't even know. I think Gary could keep going up.
Yeah, Gary could. Lou Dort could, in my opinion. Desmond Bain, if he just keeps shooting the ball the way he has, I'll be excited about him. Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson's the big one either way. Like at this point next year, he could reestablish himself with like the Bookers, Beals, McCollums of the world, or he could be down with like, I don't know, like Tim Hardaway Jr. That wouldn't surprise me either. So I think Klay Thompson has the potential to swing like in either direction on this list.
Yeah, facts.
I'm just having a hard time imagining a world in which he is not a good player.
Oh, Tim Hardaway Jr. is a great player. So it's not like I don't think Klay Thompson's going to fall to the level where he's like, I don't know, Reggie Bullock, but I think
like that guy. He's good, kind of.
Like Klay Thompson is. I could see him. Like if you told me that next season Tim Hardaway Jr. had a better season than Klay Thompson did, I don't know if I'd be very surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, RJ Barrett. He's a guy who I could see rising up this list. Tyler Hero, I could see moving up. Both of those guys are in their second year. Yeah. Karis LeVert is another one. Maybe he could move up the list.
Yeah.
I agree on that too. Once he's healthy. Is he okay?
Yeah, he's good. Yeah. Yeah, that's about. Another one, maybe Michael Mulder. Like just because the Warriors offense will have better players next year, maybe he'll get better shots and he'll start to look better.
Yeah, it's all about getting more minutes for him. He doesn't play that much.
Yeah. In terms of guys who I think could fall next year, do either of you guys have guys who you think could maybe fall off a bit?
I'd have to think about it. What was yours?
I have no idea.
Just because
Jonah's frozen.
Jojo, you frozen? Am I frozen?
No.
Oh, who are yours, Jonah?
I think I was just thinking, so I might have looked frozen for a second.
Oh, I see.
Sorry.
They're good.
I don't think Norman Powell will keep shooting mid-40s from three, so he could be a kind of regression candidate.
Yeah.
Jordan Clarkson, he's already kind of started to regress as the season's gone on. He might have been playing a little bit over his head as the season started, so I think he could kind of fall off maybe a tiny bit next year. But yeah, it is just kind of hard to peg. I think Lou Williams, he might be way down the list next year at this time because he's really kind of starting to.
Facts.
Yeah. Wesley Matthews, now that
he's on his way out.
Yeah, he's even been a little injury prone lately, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anthony Simons, honestly, he's got to.
This might be sort of a surprising pick, but I could see Tyler Hero kind of just.
Really? Yeah, that is a little bit surprising. Wait,
yeah, I don't know, bro. I just sort of feel like his game is one of those things where it is a lot about the moment.
Yeah.
And I feel like easily his moment could pass. And then he's kind of just like an undersized, overconfident guard in a way.
Is he that undersized? I thought he was
he's a defensive liability in my opinion. Like teams can kind of pick him out and pick him out.
I agree with that, to an extent, but I also think the reason teams pick him out is because last year he's on a team with Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler and Trevor Ariza. And even Duncan's 6'7". I feel like it's just more of a product of him getting picked out because the Heat are. I get where you're coming from. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I see your reasoning. I would probably have to disagree. Because I kind of think I think this year is about as bad as it can get for Tyler. I haven't been very impressed. I think this year's his floor, and he'll. Because you have a very valid point though. Because if we were doing this podcast last year, and you said, I think Tyler Hero is going to regress, you'd be right because he's a lot worse this year. And so I guess it stands to reason that he could be even worse next year. But I think he'll bounce back a little bit.
I could see him go either way. I just think he has to establish himself
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. It'll be interesting to see what happens to his role next year with Duncan hitting free agency. Obviously, I imagine the Heat will try to bring him back. But
Yeah.
Kendrick Nunn hitting free agency, Dragic is going to be a free agent if the Heat don't guarantee his contract. So, yeah, there's a chance Hero's role could look quite a bit different next year.
We'll see.
And I will say this is completely like anecdotal and this could be a mere coincidence, but he has played a little bit better since the trade deadline. So it could be that just being in trade rumors all year, whether it was like the James Harden stuff at the beginning of the year or Kyle Lowry, like that could definitely be kind of weighing on his mind. And he's had a
definitely
to basketball lately. Like even starting with the Blazer game that took place the night of the trade deadline, he played pretty well there. So yeah, that's an interesting one. I had a hard time rating Hero because I think I'm more of a fan of what his potential is than you are, but it is kind of tough to like balance that with the season he's been having this year, which he's shooting 34% from deep, 49 or 43% from the field, only 3 assists. So it has been a bit of a disappointing year. Like I picked him to win 6th man of the year at the beginning of the year. So I had a lot and he has been disappointing. So yeah, he's going to be interesting to watch.
Is he playing tonight?
It says he's questionable.
Okay, because if he does, he's probably going to hear this and torch us because of what I said.
Yeah. I'm on Basketball Reference, so sometimes they're a little bit slow with the injury stuff, but on here it says he's questionable. So yeah, I don't really
says here too.
Do you guys have any other big picture takes? Kellan, do you have any like potential risers or fallers before we log off?
I think that Jordan Poole's going to keep going up.
Hopefully. Yeah, I mean, he's gotten better, like almost on a game by game basis. He's had a few tough ones lately, actually, but like from the beginning of the year to now, well, from the beginning of his rookie year to like the end of his rookie year to the beginning of this year to now, like it's been like a pretty linear improvement for Jordan Poole. And so, yeah, I think if he continues on this trajectory, just out of curiosity, Kellan, what do you think is like the biggest thing that you'd want him to improve on to see him rise up this list?
I just want to see less of the burden. I just want to see someone else take more responsibility for scoring besides Steph and Andrew.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a big part of his improvement has been the lineups with Nico Mannion. I know I've said this before, but I think when he can like kind of stop thinking about passing and just think about creating his own shot, that's when he's most comfortable. That's when he's most effective. So that's priority number one for Bob Myers in the offseason. Find a good backup point guard. I think that's got to be a big deal for Golden State.
Do you think Nico can eventually get there?
Yeah, probably not. Well, it depends on what you're looking for, I guess.
Yeah, I don't really know. Yeah, a backup point guard's been
lineups with Poole and Nico Mannion are always going to be maybe a little bit too flammable defensively. I just don't think that's a combination for success. But I think Nico could fill a specific niche in the league, and he does try on defense. So and so he could get better there. So yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. That was a little bit short of me to say. I don't think he necessarily has to be a defensive liability. I think he could work his way up to average on that end, and maybe even above average. Who knows? So I shouldn't have ridden him off like that. All right.
Yes.
Are you guys good to go? This was a fun podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good work, Jonah.
Do you guys have a position that you'd enjoy doing next?
What about centers?
Centers. All right. Yeah, that sounds good. Because I don't think we ever got around to centers. I think we did every position besides center last year.
The Great Wall of Cantor.
Wait, how many boards did he have?
30 piece.
30. Oh.
It was sick.
That was
amazing. Wow.
That was good to see too, because it seemed like there were some kind of bad vibes in the Blazers locker room. So to see them all cheering on the bench and kind of rallying behind Ennis, like that was just the sort of win, or just the sort of kind of thing the Blazers needed to rally.
What's the record?
I agree.
Fun to see. The record's like 54 by Wilt.
Oh, okay.
Wilt doesn't count. Bro. Besides Wilt and Bill Russell, I think it's 40.
Oh,
That's
let me
a
guess.
lot
who
of
it
bounds.
Was it who? Do you know who it was?
It was like some name I didn't even really know.
Was it like Nate Thurman, maybe?
No,
Oh,
no, I don't remember.
Dang.
Who it was.
GP2 got 5 seconds of fame against
Right
the
on.
Rockets.
all right. And as we record this, I just got the notification that All Gear No Game episode 110, the 2021 NFL mock draft, has in fact been released. So be sure to go listen to that after.
Heck yeah, boy.
So
Yes.
Let's go.
I was
All right.
concerned because when it was like loading, it was like 5 minutes before this podcast was gonna start. I was like, okay, I'm pushing it kind of close. But sick. I'm gonna probably I might get this one up tonight, probably in the morning though.
all right, cool.
Facts. Good job. All right.
All right, boys.
Bye.
Bye,
Later.
everyone.